Now, everyone's making it in film and TV, but we don't really know how. Here, we uncover the truth. Welcome to the Your Cinema podcast. Welcome to the Your Cinema podcast. This is the place where we explore the truth about the industry, film, TV, and theatre, and hear it directly from those who are smashing it in their fields. Today, we've got a true multi-hyphenate. She is an actor, performer, photographer, a visual artist. She does it all, and at a really high level. She's been in Schoolgirls or the African Mean Girls play. She's been in Amazon Prime's The Power, as well as the critically acclaimed Shifters, which recently got a West End transfer. Boop, 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 boop. And she stars in it opposite Tosin Cole. We welcome Heather Agyepong. What's going on?
Hello. I'm good. I'm well. Glad to be here.
We are glad you are here too. So as I was mentioning, we have a new structure to our podcast. I think maybe after this one I can stop saying it's new because it won't anymore. It's just what we do. But I will run through. My first question for you, Heather, is, in your own words, what would you say it is that you do?
Oh, I would say I'm an artist, but when I say that, usually people say, "Oh, you paint." So I always say I'm a visual artist and an actor because I think those are the main kind of components of my practice.
Amazing. What would you say a visual artist does?
So what I do is often use lens or performance-based work to create art. So it's kind of an umbrella because sometimes I use video, sometimes I use lens, sometimes I perform. So visual art is just kind of the umbrella term for those
Yeah.
disciplines.
That's it. Be free. Be free. Be free. I love it. I love it. My next question is, what were the first 3 years of your professional career like?
Well, in terms of acting, but I was a visual artist before I got my first agent. So I think I
Yeah.
really understood my kind of my value systems and how I wanted to story tell. Um, and in my art career, I understood the importance of mentorship. So what I
Mm.
did when I wanted to get an agent is that I went to like kind of like-minded people, and at that time it was Tallowa theatre company, who a black-led theatre company in London, and I just kind of attached myself to them and said, "Please, I want to learn." And I did the young people's program, and then I auditioned for a job called Girls that they were producing, and I got the job, and I got my agent, and then Tallowa kind of put me under their wing. Actually, it was like a lot of mentorship and advice, and there were these three black women who were really fundamental. It was Gail Babb, Mimi Finley, they're no longer there, but and someone called Renee Musai, who's a curator, and though that mentorship really helped guide the early years of my career. So I
Wow.
felt held during that time.
Do you know what? That is so amazing. So, would you say that when you decided, all right, cool, I want to spread my artistry into acting, that
Mm.
you joined Taloa and you just got like the first gig that you went to audition for?
No, it was the second. It was the second. It was the second. Yeah,
Well done. I love it. I love
thank
it. I
you.
love it. Casting your mind back to those first 3 years, yeah. And it sounds amazing to be in a safe space and a company of more than one person who, you can express how you truly feel, get feedback, even if it's
Mm.
criticism, it's for the best. It doesn't feel negative, like all of that stuff, right? But what would you say in those first 3 years, whether that was inside Talawa or outside, right? What was difficult for you in during that period of the first 3 years with regards to acting?
I guess it was that it's kind of still difficult when you're not working. I think those moments of being out of work because sometimes you don't get feedback from these auditions. You can internalize it and think, "Oh gosh, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm not good enough." I think that the first 3 years, realizing how up and down it is, that kind of inconsistency
Mhm.
felt quite scary actually, because everyone else was had like salary jobs and 9 to 5s, and I had a job and then nothing, and then had a job and then nothing. So I think it was getting used to the roller coaster of the career and knowing that that's kind of the nature of the beast and accepting that. I think it was difficult for me to surrender to those moments of stillness. Do you know what I mean? But
Mm.
yeah, now I think I've become a bit more accustomed to that. So probably that.
Wow. You know, it's funny. There's I'm going to tell you something after
Mhm.
this point, right? So given that time, right, of the ups and downs, that where you were sort of calibrating and understanding that this is how things can go.
Mhm.
What Where were you at in life? Was it like you had just finished uni and like your friends are, like you were talking about salary jobs and stuff? Like, what was the landscape for you, like personally, around that time?
I think I was in like my early 20s. The thing is with me, my visual art career was doing really well. So I had representation. The difficulty was that I was comparing the two. So my visual art practice, my work was at Tay. It was at all of these places, and then the art stuff was like, oh, like the acting stuff felt very difficult, different in comparison. So I just kept comparing the two, thinking I should be at the same kind of point. So it was more of a like internal battle of like, I'm this age, I should be doing this, and all these kind of expectations I was putting on myself. So yeah, everyone was kind of going into their like I just finished my masters.
Mm.
Yeah, I just finished my masters, and there's this expectation of getting money, like paying it back, and all of that stuff. And all of my other friends were kind of felt more established in their careers, and I was like still figuring it out. And financially, it was like a madness. Do you know what I mean? So it was
Mm.
difficult not to compare, I guess.
No, I hear you. Wow. Yeah, a bit of an emotional learning curve. It sounds like.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
Cool. So, given those difficulties, what did you enjoy the most about those first 3 years as an actor?
I think it's that mentorship, like meeting other like-minded people, finding your community, and sometimes you go to auditions with the same people, so then you become friends. And I think it's finding that like that the community actually, and like sometimes because our industry as an actor and an artist, it's so precarious.
Mm.
Sometimes you need other people who are in precarious industries to feel validated a little bit, and they can understand your struggle. And so I think that was the exciting bit of like finding your tribe.
Wow. You know what, right? This is amazing because it sounds like in the early parts of your career, you've been graced and fortunate enough to have that solid foundation of community.
Mm.
Both, there's this thing that I heard, and I think it's so true, is that like you should have friends that are older than you, friends that are the same age, and friends that are younger, or people in your life that you can relate to in those three different ways.
Love
And
that.
yeah, it sounds like what you said in terms of the wisdom and the hindsight from people who are older in terms of the mentorship, and then it's like, oh, okay, cool, you're going up for the role. It's not competition. It's like, cool, we both want it. Oh, you got it. Oh, amazing. And then you're like in the trenches together and all of that stuff, like finding the tribe. That sounds really
But then
beautiful.
I think it takes time to. I love your point about it's not competition, because at the start the industry makes you feel like it's competition. It makes you feel like there can only be one black girl in Britain who is doing all this stuff, but it feels like a setup. Like the more we band together and do this as like a unit, the actual further we get as like black women in as actors. So
Yeah.
at the start it was kind of really trying to develop my security actually as a person. So I'll be like, she's got it, great. If people know me, if I get an audition and I don't think it's for me, I'll send it to everyone, because I'm like, if it's not me, it's for someone else. Do you know what I mean? I really think like if we work as a unit, it will shift the narrative.
So, how did you get to that point so early?
I don't think it. I think I read a lot about like female critical theory and like us as a movement and organizing. My work's quite like I guess is all about the diaspora and identity, my artwork. So I think that informs like ideas around community and change and shifting. And Yeah, yeah. It just, and also it's personal development. I did a lot of personal development at the start of like being secure in myself and knowing that if one person wins, we all win. I think it was, I read a lot and I just kind of did more development for myself, I think, yeah.
So do you know what? It's deep because as you're as you're speaking, yeah, I'm like, oh wow, I wanna know what you read. I'm like, what is this? The reason why, right, is because I'm just thinking of how others can feel like this because you know there's this thing of like, cool, someone has raw talent, but it's your talent will take you somewhere, but your character will keep you. So
Absolutely.
sometimes it's like, oh, okay, cool. The person is arrogant or whatever, and other people don't like them. And sometimes the person, when they get to a particular place, they don't like themselves, and then they
Mm,
self destruct, and we hear all these horror stories. And I think maybe this is a conversation for another day, but I think there's something extremely powerful about what has been able to make you so well secure in yourself that would be so important for other creatives, actors, filmmakers at the beginning of their careers to also add to their talent because there's so much rejection in it. So,
yes. Yeah, that's a beautiful point. I was talking to the old generation for a really long time. There was a thing that National Theatre used to do where I think it's called the Psalmist. I think Martina led run it, and it was basically like an intergenerational conversation, and also Talawa's history of community building and not needing this idea of having our own building, having our own narrative. Those sort of ideas were instilled in me, so I was like, I want to build. I don't want it just to be about me. I want us to like build because also, like you said at the start, we've come off the backs of loads of people. So for me personally, it feels like my duty to carry that on. Do you know what I mean? Like, sure, I can win this award or do this thing, but I want to leave something that like the next girl is like, oh, I can a ladder. Do you know what I mean?
I love that. I love that. And that second point that I was gonna mention, right, was literally we did a workshop with Demi Ladipo not too long ago, and he said exactly what you said in terms of like when it comes to auditions, when you're like if you get an audition, by the time you get an audition, especially when you get to like further rounds and stuff, it's not
Mm.
even about you not being good. There's
Yeah,
so many like if you don't get the job, it's like, well then why would they waste their time inviting you to an audition? Why would
mhm.
they bring you for a callback? It's not about you. You've clearly got the talent. There's so many other things that
Yes,
go into it. That is like obviously the obvious ones. Do they look like the the other characters? Sometimes
yeah.
it's the height, but then there's probably so many other things. But yeah, yeah. So I love that you're aware of that. Because yeah,
I
like
still
we all
mess
know.
up, right? I'm still like, why is there something wrong with me? But I think there's always a mantra of like I am good enough. And also I've been on castings, like on the other side of castings and seeing how that works. And someone will come in and be fantastic, but you're like, no, but their chemistry is different to them. Like it's really often not personal. So I think I just kind of remember those moments of like it's not me, it's just like, and also I believe like what's meant for you won't pass you by. So do you know what I mean? It will come. It will
Uh,
come.
I love that. I love that. I love that. So that is, great about what you enjoyed. What I want to know next is, to date, what has been your biggest industry upset?
What do you mean about that? Upset. What does that mean?
So I guess something that was, I guess, quite disappointing for you. You don't have to give like a specific detail or, because it might involve a person or a production, but something that was like an experience that, yeah, was upsetting for you.
Probably the most recent thing, and I don't think she'll mind me mentioning, is the how Fran was treated during the Romeo and Juliet stuff. I think as black actresses, we were all and femmes, we were all quite mourning that just felt really disappointing and disheartening. So there was
Mm,
like a real sorrow about like where black actresses can exist. Like it feels like, gosh, are we still limited by all of that stuff? But I think again, community, like thousands of black women and men and like all sorts of people
mm,
banded together around her and stood up for her. And there's something that I don't know, it feels like we can band together and transform pain and transmute it into something else because we're like the experts of that from our history. Do you know what I mean?
yep,
Like we can
yep.
transmute pain. So yeah, it was seeing how the community showed up, but just really disappointed that the industry still got a lot of issues and people have a lot of issues, you know?
Mm, yeah, do you know what? I love what you said about transmuting the pain because what's really interesting, and I find it in some ways similar to the England backlash when when the guys missed the penalties like a few years ago, where it's
Mm,
like if you win or if you fit inside what the expectations are and you win on those terms, you're a
mhm.
hero. And if it's something that's a bit different as to what someone expects, it's like it can't be handled. And
Yeah.
well, did you know what? Cool. With push comes to shove, I don't really care about you that much, and this is how I feel. Given, because I guess I'm not an actor, and I think it's such an interesting upset that you've mentioned, right? What did that feel like seeing that? Like in the first week, would you say?
It was like a mourning. It was a mourning because it felt like it was about all of us. And
Yeah.
I've got a lot of black actor and femmes who what are interested in seeing ourselves more, being in different spaces. So I think it was just like a mourning. It felt like it was a grieving process of like, gosh, this industry that we love still has so many issues. So it's that
Yeah.
sort of like not love hate, but like
Yeah.
it's such a difficult relationship you have with this industry, which sometimes doesn't affirm you. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it was mourning, but I think the
Mm,
thing is that it felt collective. We were all holding each other.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, it was yeah. Sometimes you have those moments where you're like, this industry,
Mm,
okay, let's keep going. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean?
100. Beautifully explained. Cool. So, what would you say to date has been your biggest industry win for you personally?
Doing shifters.
Come
I mean,
on!
West End transfer, Pierre, that's mad. That's like, what an honor. And I say that because there have been so many plays that should have been transferred but haven't. So it's just kind of like God's timing, favor, and luck. Do you know what I mean? Like that we're here. So yeah, it just feels like an honor and a role which I just adore. So yeah, I think probably this. Yeah.
So let's get into shifters. What was it like doing the first run?
I think we all knew that it felt important
Really?
making a play about love and at the center to black people being in love. So I think we knew
Mhm.
the significance of it, but I think we were quite well, I can only talk for myself. I was very overwhelmed of how much people resonated and it selling out and and people like queuing up for tickets. I don't think I understood the significance of the whole thing really until it was sold out every night and we hardly did any marketing for it. So yeah, a bit overwhelming, but incredible to be a part of. So yeah, mixed loads of emotions.
You know, I saw there was something. I'm not sure if it was a write up, but there was. I think there was an article that I saw that it was about. It said maybe it was on one extra. It doesn't matter. I'll say it, and you know what I'm talking about. It
Mm-hmm,
says finally a black love story that isn't centered on trauma.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I didn't fully understand that. Could you unpack that if that makes sense to you, or your
Yeah,
perspective on what that title might mean?
yeah. I think the editor probably created that from what I was saying. I think it was about I said that sometimes when we see black characters on stage, it's
Yeah,
centered around the problems of being black and navigating that. And I think those stories feel are really important. But if all you're seeing is that, I think the narrative becomes really skewed, and it
yeah,
seems that's all we talk about. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
it felt refreshing that even though the show is about love, it explains
mhm,
like loss and grieving and all of the things, it's centered about them loving each other and being seen.
yeah,
So I was just advocating for like multiplicity of stories, you know.
yeah. I love that. Like a true artiste. Um, what do you love about this industry, Heather?
Ah, to tell stories. Do you know what? It's such an honor to be in front of people and taking some of their time and being able to like speak to them. Like it just feels like an honor that someone is taking 90 minutes out of their day to watch us, or someone's watching a TV show. Like to take someone's time and have an be able to affect them. That's like divine work for me. So I think that's my favorite thing actually, that people are we can affect change in some way by making stories.
Oh, I love that. So, I had a chat with Michael Balogun, right? And
Okay.
he is like he's such an amazing character. He
Mhm.
he said something to me which I found really interesting, but also and also very true, right? He
Mhm.
said that there's something about when people come together, especially in theatre, but in general, what he meant was that, like, when people come together and they're focused on like one goal, it's like it's like magical. It's like the Avengers all coming together and
Yeah,
we're
yeah, yeah.
we're, we're doing something.
Mhm.
Given that you've got quite a lot of experience in theatre, like what and the impact that coming together, it's like you guys create this energy ball and then send it out to people, and it affects and impacts them, like you said, right? What is that like, that incubation period of formulating this project or story?
Oh, it I mean, our audience in Shifters were like the best audiences. They were so
Yeah,
vocal and loud and calling out. It was so wonderful because that means that they're really into it, and
yeah,
it's like percolating and they're being affected by it. So it
yeah,
feels incredible. It can take you out. So you have to also be like, okay, focus on like someone is cracking up and it can take you out. But and also like it reminds you of like how we like commune and how we communicate and celebrate, and people like like all of that just feels like an experience. It feels like people are experiencing something, and and it's a memory. So that it just feels wonderful that you're knowing that you're affecting people. So I hear what Michael was saying. It's like it's quite a powerful thing. It feels quite powerful because everybody's looking at everything you're doing.
yeah,
So there is a like an honor and like I wanna. It makes me want to be the best I can be because people are like relying on me to tell the truth
yeah.
or and add part of the story.
So, right, I just had this thought of like someone is cracking up, or they're so vocal, right? Do
Yeah.
you ever, you know like, do you ever like react to them in like whilst you're performing in a way that incorporate, like, I don't know, like when you said it takes you out, like what does
Mhm.
that look like? Or is it just something that's internalized and you have to remind yourself to focus? Like, are you looking at them and like what happened? That's,
Yeah, yeah,
sorry,
no, I
I'm
hear
so
what you're
excited.
saying. Well, in our show, we look at the audience a lot. So often you just take a beat, like you allow them to like finish the laughter. Lynette Linton, our director, who's amazing, will be like, people are gonna laugh. So she'll tell us like at those moments, like give yourself a beat if that happens. Because what I don't want is to come out and then take everybody out. They're like, oh, that's Heather. Do you know what I mean? So I'm conscious that we need to um serve the story as best as possible. So we never come out of character, but we just take a beat, like, okay, let's go. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right. So what what is that? What? is that, does improv help with that a lot? Or because do you know what it sounds like to me, right? It sounds a bit like a football match where you've got your tactics, but then also, you know, you don't know what's going to happen when, and you have to be able to flow with it, but not in an anxious way. It's like,
Yes.
okay, cool, that's happened. Like you said, I'm going to take a beat, and then we keep it. It's like, and some people would find that really exciting, but yeah, like what is that ability to do that? I think.
I love your example. When I was watching the Euros, I was like, when they were doing the penalties, I was like, gosh, there's such a focus. Like, it's kind of like they're not even here. Sometimes I don't even really think about the audience. All I'm looking at is Dre, who's played by
Yeah,
Tosin. That's I'm thinking about my objective, right? So whatever anyone else is saying, I'm looking because sometimes people laugh at like shouting bits and that's their stuff. My job is to serve the story, so I'm just laser focused on that. So how do we there's a thing in Meisner called repetition, and it's
mhm,
basically like an acting technique, and it's
yeah.
basically putting your attention onto the other person, so you're not even thinking about yourself. The most important thing is the other person. It makes you feel totally not you're not self conscious at all, but also it allows you to ignore like anything the audience are saying. So I think it's a bit of a technique.
I love. Do you know what? That's exactly what Michael said. You know, he
No way,
said,
really.
he said, right. He didn't explain that it was Meisner, but what he said, right, was that, listen, if you're feeling a bit self conscious on stage, just focus on the other person.
Yeah,
Focus on the other person, because then you
mhm,
stop thinking about yourself. Like,
completely it works. Yeah.
you guys are artists. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So Heather, another question. It might sound similar to the industry upset, but it's actually different.
Okay.
You can take a moment to have a think. But what would you say you hate or dislike about the industry in general?
Ooh. Hate, dislike. What do I dislike about the industry?
And it
The thing,
could be anything. It could be early starts. It could be, I don't know. But yeah, just you personally.
maybe for like working class communities, it feels like there's so many talented folks, but because maybe they can't afford drama school or they're not in front of this certain people or don't know people, they kind of get left behind and forgotten. Um, so yeah, it feels like there's a bit of a disparage to like who gets seen and who doesn't because um yeah, the power isn't spread equally. There's like a couple of people who have the power and they make all those decisions. So maybe like how gatekeepers can kind of uh abuse their power. Do you know what I mean? Like yeah, that unequalness I think feels like a bit off key sometimes.
Do you know what? I love this so much, right? I was thinking about this either earlier today or yesterday, right? And I'll
Mhm.
give you an example. So, Junior Salakun, who was in Blue Story, right? And
Mhm.
he had like one of the lead roles in it.
Yeah.
And I was like, do you know what? He's a really good actor. He's got really good range, and I feel like a lot of people don't realize that yet. But
Okay.
what I was thinking was that how he got the role, right,
Hmm.
was that Ratman did a call out and he kind of knows him anyway. But
Okay.
so they, did a few YouTube videos together, etc., etc. And then when everything blew up with Shiro Story, and then he's doing Blue Story, like got the audition, etc., etc. And I was like, do you know what? So if that didn't happen at this latter stage, he either wouldn't have known that this was even possible, because
Mm-hmm.
technically he's still at the early part of his career. But then it's like, I'm like, wow. And what you just said made me think of other people that, because what happened with Ratman and Blue Star, that's an enigma. Like,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
but then drama school and training is an actual route that is solid. You can count on it, i.e., if you want to do this, you can go here.
Mm.
You can't count on going viral and then being cast in like a Blue Story kind of thing. And
Yeah.
I love just when you said that, it made me think of like, oh wow, how can we make things more accessible? Yeah, it's just that is a
No,
shame.
that's such a good point. I never went to drama school, but I trained. So I did
Mm,
tons of part-time courses and classes. And I think into time of the mentorship, I wanted to go around directors, makers who resonated with me, and I think that also is like a route, like go to places where, or directors or directors talks or those conversations, expose yourself to places you want to be at. So I think that's another route, but right now it's still skewed, right? Some people
yeah.
just get access really quickly and some don't. So yeah,
And to your credit, right, you have done, based off of what you're saying, I would say that you've done really well because, and I don't mean you've done really well as in you've become really successful because of this. What I mean is you've done really well by being the sort of person that is relentless about the pursuit that you want to go on. And
hmm
it reminds you of like someone like a Johnny who, like, he was at every industry event that
yeah,
is like, because I want to be here. Like he was studying, he was in Jamaica.
mm-hmm.
He came here to like, all right, cool, let's try and make something happen because the opportunities seem to be better, and he was everywhere. And
Yeah.
I think to your
Johnny's a
credit,
grafter, though. He is a
yeah,
grafter, like yeah.
yes, he is, he is, and it sounds like you're the same. Like you're like, no, do you know what? I decided I want to do this, so I just need to be around people, and this thing will figure itself out.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I think also my faith has played a massive part. Like I
mhm.
know um I'm supposed to be a storyteller and I truly believe that. So I'm like, all right, God will do his part. I'm gonna do my part and when I'm gonna be in these events or have these conversations and I just believe the doors will open and so far so good. Do you know what I mean? So I'm just gonna keep doing that.
I love it. Amen. Amen. Cool. Heather, what do you need to make your best work?
I think I need the writing to be good. I think when I've auditioned for things and the writing hasn't been, and when I mean that, I mean like there's no vision or the vision is unclear or they don't have anything to say. Often my work will suffer because I don't care about it. So I think I need writers who have a vision or want to say something. And that doesn't necessarily have to be like issue based or anything,
Yeah.
but it could be like, I want my audience to understand this or I want to ask questions about this. I think that's the
Mm,
thing for me that enables me to like do my best work because I keep remembering the vision during rehearsals, during filming. I think that's the thing for me.
a clear vision. So with that, and I guess yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool. Lastly, right. So Shifters started off at the Bush, and
Mhm.
which is such a great space for theatre.
Yeah,
I don't go to the theatre that much, but what I love and what I perceive about the Bush is this, like, it feels like what you mentioned at Talawa, of like, you
yeah,
know
yeah,
what,
yeah.
if you want to get into this, like, just go there because there's
Mhm.
stuff that something will you'll like
Yes,
something. It's like a melting pot kind of thing. It's very approachable,
yes,
it
yes.
seems.
Mhm.
So obviously it started off there, and the West End transfer has happened, and I guess you doing so many theatre shows, right? Like,
Mhm.
for me, this is huge. But what is it like for you? Because you're really in like this space.
I mean, Lynette and Bene, who are like at the helm of it, have just been like just incredible. Like from the jump, Lynette was like, the tickets got to be accessible. They got to start from £20. Like in term, it's just so community based. Like the Bush's ethos is always like inclusivity, like and accessibility. Especially now, theatre is getting so expensive, and you're like, who is theatre for, and who's the arts for? They're always just thinking about the most marginalized person who will come see the show. So it just feels like an honor that that ethos isn't like shifting now in the West End. Like we're still doing that. It's still for the people. So that feels like an honor. But also playing this like black romantic lead feels again like this isn't just for me. This is for like all the black women and femmes who've been told you're not a romantic lead, or have missed out on jobs, or have felt like that space isn't for us. Like it is, it is. So I'm doing this for myself primarily, but
Yep.
also for like, all of us. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm hoping this will be like part of the shift that's happening.
I love that. This is why we're all so important, right? Because I would probably have missed that key point that you just said because I'm not a female actor who's black.
Hmm.
In
Hmm.
terms of like, yeah, cool, this is great for Heather. And there's a ripple effect that a lot of that can help a lot of other black female actors in terms of like, no, yeah, like you said, you are a black female lead. There isn't a prototype of how you have to be or look, which I guess is okay. I'm seeing it now. Okay, this was the whole issue with Fran, isn't it? This was
Yeah.
the whole issue before of like, no, you can't play Juliet, and it's like, why? Oh, because there's a box. Oh, there's an invisible box. That's why. Okay, cool. So
Hmm.
something like this helps to shatter the box or at least continue to chip away at it. So yeah.
Absolutely. You've got Rylane, like
Yeah.
Vivian, like Taylor, like all of that has probably allowed shifters to even happen, like subconsciously or inadvertently. So yeah, it feels like there's definitely movement happening, which feels exciting.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Heather, it has been amazing chatting with you. So refreshing. I love your artistic inclinations, and you definitely see the bigger picture. So, yeah, I'm wishing you all the best with Shifters. I may even be there. And yeah,
Yeah, I
this
can't.
is not our last time speaking.
It won't be. And also, Pierre, all the work you're doing for your cinema is incredible. So important, accessible. It makes people feel like they're not alone. So big up you because you're doing really important work. Real talk.
Oh, we thank God. We thank God.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you, Heather.